Okay guys, so we already covered lower body. Hopefully you found that video helpful. We are going to do upper body now with 4 different exercises and a similar style with lots of different modifications for every exercise. We're going to be covering rotator cuff exercises, shoulder press, rows, and reverse flies, and we're going to do these in lots of different ways. I mean, like half a dozen options per exercise. So even if you're familiar with these movements, my hope is that you can still find some interesting variations through what we cover today. And just as a heads up, you will need ideally a set of dumbbells. If you have multiple sets, that's wonderful. But if you only have one set, then hopefully the modifications will help you to be able to perform a little bit of every movement safely and within a comfortable range for the dumbbell set that you have. I would suggest a light to moderate weight for the reverse flies, a moderate weight for the shoulder press and the rotator cuff, and then a little heavier weight for the rows. But again, whatever you have is going to be great. I'm only using a little set of the same weight for all of these exercises I'm demonstrating today. So we're going to be all right either way, okay? Here we go. So we're going to begin with rotator cuff. Now, I'm going to demonstrate how to do a rotator cuff exercise with just one dumbbell to start. So we come to a 90-degree angle in the elbow, okay? 90 degrees, and we simply open the arm all the way up, or open it to the side, and bring it back to the front. So we open it to the side and bring it back to the front. Now, we're not rotating the torso with this. Our core is staying lightly engaged as we simply move the arm open and close. Now you're going to start to feel that right on the rotator cuff or the inside of the shoulder blade. That's where we really want to feel it. And when we get more comfortable, we add in both arms, and it's a fairly simple exercise. We try not to drop below the 90-degree angle, so we don't do it down here. We keep it at that nice 90-degree angle in the elbow, and the elbows stay nice and snug towards the side, almost like a hinge. A door on a hinge, opening and closing, okay? When you open all the way up, it can be helpful to give a little squeeze in between the shoulder blades before you come back to center. So squeeze in between the shoulder blades and come back to center. I recommend using one dumbbell if you have one shoulder that's a little more prone to injury or has a history of some injuries with it, or osteopenia or osteoporosis. So this way you can do maybe a heavier weight on one side, a lighter weight on the other side, or you can just have more stability as you do it. But if your shoulders feel fine, then you can most certainly do both at the same time. Okay, so that's the basic move. We can alternate that a little bit by turning our palms up. Same exact thing, the elbows stay snug to the sides. We rotate the grip up, almost like you're holding a platter in your hands, like a server. And we open and bring it back to center. Same thing, squeezing between the shoulder blades as you go. This just creates a slightly different angle for the shoulders to work within, which can feel nice. Now, instead of going like this the whole time, you can also rotate your grip as you go. So you can start here, hands parallel, palms parallel. Rotate as you open and bring them back parallel. Rotate as you open, squeeze between the shoulder blades, and bring them back just like that. Squeezing between the shoulder blades, back to parallel. Think about thumbs out, almost like a hitchhiker, right? Turning your thumb out like such. Thumbs out and back to center, okay? Those are all nice ways that we can throw the grip around into slightly different positions and get a great workout with that very simple exercise. Now the last variation is adding in balance. If you feel really comfortable with everything we've talked about, you can balance on one leg. See, this leg is freestanding and floating. Same thing. I can do the regular rotator cuff here. I can do palms up as I balance on one leg, and I can do the rotation, moving through those two grips as I go through the exercise. So this is a nice way to involve the lower leg, the core, and the upper body, and a nice, really tall, strong posture as you go. So those are all different ways ways that we can incorporate rotator cuff exercises. I'm looking at my notes here because we've got so many different variations that I want to make sure we cover today. So the next variation is going to be a single arm or double arm seated shoulder press. Now I'm just going to grab my desk chair because I totally forgot to bring a dining chair in here. So be warned, this is not the ideal chair, right? Because this has wheels on it. Ideally, you're going to find something that is more stationary than this, just in case it flies out from under you. But either way, we're going to start with one hand up here by the shoulder, palm facing in towards your midline. Simply press all the way up and back down. Now this is a really basic move, but the thing that a lot of people aren't aware of when it comes to shoulder press is how to breathe. So as you press overhead, exhale through your mouth and then slowly inhale as you bring it back down. Exhale through the mouth, inhale as you come back down, keeping a nice tall core and a little bit of tightness here, almost like you're zipping up a tight pair of pants to help you get that stability. Here we go. The wheels and the swivel of this chair are actually somewhat helpful right now. So if I'm not engaging my core, my shoulder press might look like this, where I'm leaning back as I do it to give myself momentum rather than keeping the work exclusive to the shoulder and pressing straight up with a nice upright torso. So that's a little demonstration. This is what we want to see. This is showing me when I see somebody do that they're not really engaged through their core and the weight is probably a little bit too heavy for them. So if you find yourself doing that, simply scale down the weight and or tighten up through the core. So we talked about single arm, double arm, same exact thing. We can have palms facing in towards one another to begin, exhaling, pressing up, inhaling as you bring it back down. Exhale up, nice, strong, and tall through the core. Inhale back down. Now we want to make sure that we're giving both phases of the movement equal attention. So it's not only important to press up and then quickly drop down, it's important to take your time on both the concentric movement and the eccentric movement. Concentric being up as the shoulder shortens, and eccentric coming down as the shoulder lengthens, okay? A harder variation here, rather than palms facing in, is palms facing out. This is a little trickier to stabilize, and it involves a little bit more medial and posterior aspects of your shoulder. So up and down, same thing. Exhale up and inhale down. Exhale up. So hopefully you can hear from my breathing how I'm syncing it up the whole time in order to avoid what we call a Valsalva maneuver, which is when we hold the breath and then we accidentally sort of like mess up our blood pressure a little bit and can get dizzy. That's the simple explanation. So always keep your breathing going, work with it, use it to help you through this movement, okay? The next variation is simply going to be standing. So we'll put this chair away. That actually worked out somewhat nicely. So standing, we can go to the exact same thing. This is going to require more core support. Palms face in, pressing up and down. Okay? Palms facing out, up and down. Same exact thing as before, just standing. And again, here, we don't want to see the torso getting thrown into it like this. We want to stay nice and straight. If you throw your torso into it, especially standing, that can really risk hurting your lower back, and nobody needs that right now, or ever. So the next variation, if you feel comfortable just standing and doing set standing, you could get a little fancier. Palms can be facing out or in, and you can add a squat. So we're going to squat down and then stand back up, exhaling with the press. You can do this slow, like this, sort of alternating like a shoulder press for a rep, a squat for the rep, so on and so forth, or you can combine them. So squat down, press up, squat down, press up to make it more fluid, and this ends up being a little bit of a cardio workout. So we can do that, and then the last one is coming back to that balance. single leg balance, just like we did with the rotator cuff. But here, we're doing it with the shoulder press. So again, exhale up, and inhale down. Exhale up, and inhale down. We've really got to keep the core nice and tight as we do these, okay? And if that feels uncomfortable, then please start with something simpler. But that shows a wide variety of things that we can do with the shoulder press. So one moment, and we're going to move on. We're going to go to rows now. And even just demonstrating these, I've got to say that I'm getting warm, so I took off my jacket. So hopefully when you're doing full sets, you're going to be working even harder and you're going to feel some good work from this. So again, I forgot to grab my dining room chair. So my swivel desk chair might fly out from under me. Hopefully not, right? Find something that's more stable than this, I repeat. So we are going to do a single arm row with a little support on the chair. All I'm going to do is bend forward, one leg back. Opposite arm from the leg that's forward is going to have the dumbbell. We want a flat back here, so you can see how I have a nice long diagonal line from the top of my head to my foot, rather than slouching forward or coming here, right? We need a nice, strong, flat back to avoid injury. Other hand is simply going to be on the chair for a little bit of help supporting the core. A single arm row simply looks like this. Okay, 90-degree elbow at the top of the movement, slow all the way back down. And we can think about squeezing the shoulder blade back here, just like we did a little bit with the rotator cuff. But we don't want to do that and rotate the torso. So you can do a row twist sometimes if it's intentional, but if we really just want to isolate that upper body muscle, the traps and the rhomboids, then just keep a nice flat torso, staying facing towards the chair, flat back, and just let the arm do the movement. Okay, we can do that on either side. When you switch sides, again, it's one leg forward, one leg back. Support with the chair. It's harder to see from this side since it's away from the camera. But 90 degrees at the elbow, at the top of the movement, slow release back down. We want to slowly release rather than letting it fling back to the ground. 1, to avoid injury, and 2, because that part of the movement is really important as well. So that's a single arm row. We're going to go over a bent over row now. So a bent over row will simply be involving a squat or that split stance that we just took. We'll do a squat first, okay? I'm going to start with a basic grip, palms facing each other. You squat down, engage through your core again, row up and down. We get that 90-degree angle at the top and slow release back down. 90 degrees, squeeze between the shoulders, slow release back down. Same form. Look at how nothing has to change in my torso for me to take a split stance. So really it's a matter of preference here. If you feel more stable here than here, go for it, or vice versa. But ultimately, we're not changing anything about that diagonal line in the back and the chest, okay? So that's a bent over row with a grip facing each other. You can also do a grip where your palms are facing towards your thighs. I'll demonstrate this one from the front and then from the side. So instead of here, it's a simple change of the grip. You see how my elbows go much wider versus here, they stay really tucked to the sides of my body. Here it's really wide. So this just makes for a little bit of a different challenge. Now, it's also harder to guide the dumbbell into the right position here. So when you do this, bring the dumbbell to the bottom of the rib cage and then back down. Bottom of the rib cage and back down. And that will give you a good guide for how to go through the movement. Okay, so we're building off of the themes that for the harder modifications of the shoulder press, we're doing something similar here. So we're going to add in a squat, and then we're gonna add in some balance. So squats with rows can look like this. Squat down, row, and then stand back up. Pretty simple. Squat down, row, and stand back up. Now, while I say it's simple, it can also be a little tricky to maintain the proper form and alignment with your upper body here. So sometimes it can help to do this in front of a mirror just to be sure that you're doing it the right way. And people get a little self-conscious about this in the gym, but you're going to be at your own home right now. So just use it as a chance to really learn the proper form and watch yourself rather than feeling nervous that somebody's looking at you strange in the gym about checking yourself out in the mirror, okay? Form from the side, squat down, row, and stand. Squat down, row, and stand. You'll notice how I'm completing the whole movement with my upper body first before coming out of that low squat position. Now the last variation involving balance goes back to one of our movements that we did in the lower body series, the single leg reach that looked like this, okay? This is what it looked like without involving any upper body movements. So you can come down if you feel comfortable doing that on its own to start. You've got to look at the lower body video for a little bit of a tutorial on that. If you feel comfortable doing that movement, you can come down to the bottom of that, almost like a warrior three, if you're familiar with yoga. You can hold here and you can row. Or you can come in and out of that movement, which is, I would argue, a little harder because you're constantly changing where your center of gravity is. And you can add a row at the bottom. Okay? So all the way down, row, back up to the top, and then of course feel free to switch legs. So we are almost done here. That's everything for the rows. We have reverse flies now. Now, this is the one where I would argue that, how do I say this? I would argue that this is an exercise everybody needs a lot more than they realize, because reverse flies target the back of the shoulder, your posterior deltoid, and the posterior deltoid tends to be weak from slouching forward like this. It gets stretched out. I sleep on my side. I know I do that, and I'm sure lots of other people do too. Sitting in kind of a slouched down cozy position on the couch when we're watching TV, or leaning forward at our computers, or even just trying to look closer at our phones to see all that small print on our phones. So there are a lot of reasons why this posterior deltoid is a little more stretched out and weak compared to what is ideal. And this is globally, for all populations. So with that in mind, I want you to be really careful as you approach this exercise to start with a lighter weight and really do this incrementally and slowly and make sure that you're comfortable with it. So we're going to begin with doing this all the way down close to the ground to give ourselves a lot of stability and core support. You only need one dumbbell right now if you're going to try this modification. So you're in an all fours position, hands and knees. Your back is flat. Okay, we're not rounding here, and we're not dropping down here. It's not cat-cow like in yoga. We find that nice midline, so we have sort of a table, flat back. And with one hand, we're going to slowly, with control, lift the dumbbell out straight to the side with the arm, like such. Okay? So it's all the way out to the side, slowly, and back down. If you do this and you feel like it's got to fly back down really fast because you can't control it, then I suggest using a lighter weight. If you don't have a lighter weight, then I suggest trying to do something like even a can of soup, something that you can grip that adds just a little bit of weight to allow you to go through this movement. And if that sounds silly, well, just try it. Because believe it or not, if you do enough reps, even with just that little can of soup, I guarantee you're going to feel this muscle start to work, because it really is, generally speaking, very weak on a lot of people and something that needs a lot more attention than we give it regularly. So that's one variation from this nice stable position. Another variation is to take one leg up, and this is going to really challenge our core. So this is a great way to get some core work in too. So we're lifting that leg, balancing the whole time as we do the reverse fly. Try to keep your eyes towards the mat here so that your head stays in a nice neutral position rather than dropping down and straining the neck. You could do a lift per rep here too, although I kind of like just the static hold while doing the arm movement up and down. So those are some great exercises you can do on the mat. Obviously we want to do both sides. It's great for posture. Now you'll notice that I am not coaching you through push-ups and chest exercises right now. I am coaching you through three exercises targeted at posture: the rotator cuff, the reverse fly, and the rows, and one for shoulders, which helps to support posture as well, although it's not traditionally thought of. But shoulders, strong shoulders up here can help support a nice open, tall posture. So all of these exercises are really aimed at muscles that tend to be weaker and that tend to help us feel our best. There are a lot of studies that show that posture can actually impact our hormones, and when people are standing tall and almost in that like military posture with their chest up, shoulders back, that it actually can boost testosterone, which is a good thing for both men and women, because testosterone gives us great energy and vitality and health. So just something to think about. All these exercises are targeting shoulders and posterior chain muscles for good reason, because we really need to balance our bodies out that way, since our chests tend to be overutilized and tight. So that's why I'm not going into chest today. Okay, so the last two here that I will show you are, well, last three. Okay, back here again, my swivel chair that's coming in handy so much right now. You can do a reverse fly in that split stance, just like the row, with the support of the chair. Okay? So that's one way that you can do a bent over reverse fly standing. Or we can come into the reverse fly here. Same position that we did the rows from with a squat. Here it's helpful to exhale as you open and inhale as you slowly lower. Okay? Try to stay low with this rather than tempting to throw your body up, okay? Try to stay low and with the core engaged and keep that focus in the shoulders rather than adding in momentum. From the side, this is how we look. And from the side, we can take that split stance so that we do it from here. So a lot of the fundamentals that I taught you with positioning for the row apply to the reverse fly, okay? That is everything for the upper body exercises. I hope that's helpful. And I hope you get a good workout from it, because like I said, even just demonstrating it, I'm feeling warm and a little sweaty. So hope it's helpful, and on to core. Thanks, guys.